So week 1 is in the books. Week 2 is on us, Bob. North Carolina State Wolfpack is a big marquee matchup, to be honest about it. ACC versus SEC didn't go very good for the ACC for the most part last week.
No, it didn't.
And I hope it's even worse this week. But,
Yeah.
Bob, we both maybe have gotten here, but we did different ways of getting here. I know if I was a Wolfpack fan, I would not be nearly as excited as I was a week ago. And as a Tennessee Vol, I mean, Bob, could have went any better.
Now, we've talked about this, Tim. You don't want to get too high, too low based off of week 1 because, number one, our opponent was bad. They're a good team
And their level.
at their level, but they're not a great team. Now, but that to give you something to gauge, the team we played was a higher ranked team in that level than what North Carolina State.
That's true. Both were top 20, but
Yeah.
Chattanooga was number 8, and Carolina was number 20.
All right. So, like you said, you don't want to get too like have an overreaction.
And let's face it, the only thing you can guarantee is overreactions for both these games. Happens every year. Week 1's crazy to begin with, and you always just totally overreact to what happened.
Yeah, you'll have some teams that look like trash first week and make huge improvements from that game forward, and never have those same problems the rest of the year. So yeah, I think that's something to really consider. But let's go look into what we did see. Tennessee looked fantastic.
Yeah, we'll start with Tennessee, and then we'll kind of look at what maybe North Carolina State did, and
Look at some other
some matchups, and so yeah, some more SEC teams. There's some things that
was interesting.
it was.
But yeah, Tennessee looked fantastic. I mean, Nico looked great.
Yeah, I think he might be a keeper.
Might be. I mean, we beat them 69-3. Nico ties a Tennessee record for yards and a half. Only plays a half, and we score 69 points. Makes you feel good about where we're at.
Couldn't have hardly scripted it any better. No injuries that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to go in there and put our foot on them and take them out quick and play a ton of people.
Played 94 people. I mean, that may be a record. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, 14 guys caught balls. That might be a record.
Yeah.
There was it went as well as you could have wished for.
Basically, yes. Except for being a little cooler for those that went to the game.
Yes, I was cooking like a egg out there. You probably have a better idea what happened at the game because I might have been delirious through some of it. I thought I saw birds actually transform into elephants at one point. It was sweltering. But
you been hanging around some of them college kids down there. What you tell me? You might have got a whiff of something that might have changed the way you.
Yeah, well, that might have been something there. I don't know. But my gosh, it was hot. But in your cool living room, Bob, any particular things stand out to you?
Well, Nico played great. We was very basic, I felt like. I thought our defensive line would do a little bit more, but I think it had a lot of it to do with Chattanooga. I mean, Chattanooga, we mentioned in our last episode that Alabama didn't get a sack on them when they played them last year. So they do a good job of protecting their quarterback. Tyree West looked really good as far as individual players go. He looked really well. Maybe that cements him as that strong side defensive end ahead of Jenkins, Don Bailey.
Yeah. And I don't know who will get to start.
I don't know.
But I think West is going to get the snaps.
I think he may lead in snaps. Yeah, I agree with that. Pierce probably be a surprise at the game's fact.
Well, he didn't need him. Played 10 snaps, got him off the field.
Yeah.
So that's fine with me.
That might be the biggest surprise of the game. Or one of the best players in NCAA didn't get really very much reps, and he didn't show up. Which is 10 plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some shout outs to some other guys too, real quickly, that may not be stars. You may not hear much from them the rest of the year. One was a VFL son, Trey Weary, had some nice catches over on the sidelines late in the ball game. I know that's a proud daddy watching his son play for his team.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nathan Leacock, because on that interception that Gaston Moore threw that should have been a pick six,
Mm-hmm.
man, he started out 15, 20 yards behind that kid, and Leacock just ran his tail end down.
Yeah.
He did not give up on the play. And the coaches kind of rewarded him, because when they come back out on the field, I believe he got the very first pass thrown his way. So super effort late in the, winning in 60s to nothing or 3, and you're giving effort. So
Yeah, I like that.
That I want to give him a shout out. He deserves it on that play. Running backs, we've got a few, Bob.
Yeah, was it 14 carries? I mean, we had 14 receivers.
Mm-hmm.
But man, we had what? Sampson, Selden got a decent amount of carries. Keith got probably a little more than what I thought. Deshaun Bishop didn't get a whole lot, but he did get a touchdown. Looked good.
Look good doing it.
Yeah. I mean,
we've got some kids.
Oh yeah, I think we're
ball.
fine there. There was a little bit of, I felt like a little bit of overreaction, worry about that position going in.
Well, it's mostly health and inexperience, but the health seems to be okay. And, the inexperience isn't really going to show up against Chattanooga.
Right.
So
Right.
that's still out there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, we know, and I think most of all fans watch the game, but NC State, our next opponent, they played Western Carolina. And like we said, they are very similar to the Chattanooga team, playing wise, than what, if it gives you something to go by. They was losing going into the fourth quarter of that game. Now they scored what, 2 touchdowns, three in the fourth quarter. So, that's, they pulled away, looked good.
They did.
Bernie in the fourth quarter. Maybe they figured some stuff out, but.
And they might just woke up.
Yeah.
I mean, look, first game of the year, say it again. You're not really up for Western Carolina. You're looking at Tennessee already.
We discussed in a previous video, we discussed which Grayson McCall do you see? Do you see the Grayson McCall from, that was with Jamie Chadwell at Liberty? Or do you see the Grayson McCall without?
Sure. Yeah.
And I think you've seen the Grayson McCall without Jamie Chadwell, because he did not look like, great. Hyman was off. He was a little bit off on a lot of passes.
Tell you what, though, that don't really surprise me either, though, because he's coming into y'all new receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Fact is, even the receivers haven't played that much together, because they've got so many new guys in the room. The plus on bringing in transfers is that you're upgrading the talent in your room. The minus on that is cohesion.
Yes. Yeah, they had a little bit of problem with that. Now, one thing I did notice about the NC State game, if anybody did watch it, they have maybe one of the very best wide receivers in the country, Casey Concepcion. The kid is smooth. All he does is go up there and catch passes.
He looks like he should be already playing on a different level of.
Yeah.
He's fun to watch.
Yeah, he is. So we'll be.
He will test those secondaries and the stars unlike anything Chattanooga did this weekend. I promise you that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So will Justin Jolie.
Yeah, the tight end. I think he had about 75 yards for the game.
He did.
But he would have went over 100 had they not called back a penalty. So he's very good. I mean,
those two guys are quality guys. They will stress our secondary.
Those are two guys we will be watching heavily for and need to focus on. We hope McCall has the same issues in game 2 that he had in game 1, where he wasn't quite accurate. You know, I'll tell you something else about NC State. I think they probably was a little bit disappointed in. Didn't think their offensive line played all that great, even though they had 4 returning starters.
Yeah. It's actually the surprise of it,
Yeah,
how badly their offensive line played. Surprised me anyway.
yeah. I
I
mean,
expected better.
like you said, Jordan Waters, if you take away that long run he had when the game was over up there at the
Yeah,
end,
like the minute of the ball game.
he just averaged about 4 yards carrying. And that's, if you're averaging that against them, you can't expect to average, you know,
Well, I
that
mean,
against us.
it wasn't a great start for the year for him.
No.
And they didn't really give hardly anyone else touch the ball. He had 20 carries. The next guy had 3.
Right.
Of course, the next guy that had 3 was Hollywood Smothers, alt-name team, by the way.
Right.
Uh, and he had 39 yards, so he earned a little bit more playing time.
Yeah. The defense, I think, didn't play as well as anticipated as well. But, you know, they got a lot of new starters. Um, you know, I think one of their top linebackers, uh,
Well, he got a guy kicked out
yeah,
in the first half for targeting.
yeah, just a few plays in, yeah, a guy they was really counting on to be kind of the leader in that linebacker room.
And that affects the game. I mean, it's like it or not, you lose a starter right off the bat. There's a reason there's a starter.
Yeah, and he was the guy that had the helmet communication, so I'm sure they passed that along, but to somebody else. But that probably hurt their defense a little bit, especially initially. But you know, I feel a lot better about that game, Tim. You know, last week I thought we would win this game by 7 points. You know, I think you said something like maybe 10.
I'll bump that up now.
I'm gonna bump that up now. I mean, I will say this: I fully expect them to play better against us than what they did against Western Carolina.
Safest bet of the weekend.
Yes. And they still have the 3-man front, which we have struggled against to run the ball against. So I think that should temper expectations just a little bit. But if we come out with a 14 point, 17 point win, would not shock me at all at this point.
Well, no. Honestly, even a bigger win wouldn't shock me.
No, it wouldn't.
Um, but now
I'm kind of thinking
not
14
picking.
points now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, based off just 1 week, and once again, overreactions on both directions. Uh, we are not the 85 Bears yet, and North Carolina State is not a Division III team. I
Right.
mean, no matter how bad they may have looked at times the other day.
Right.
Um, but feeling good so far. We'll get a little bit more into this game later on in the week.
Right.
But Bob, let's kind of slide over to some other games happen across the conference and across the country that caught your eye.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over two that I think impacts us as far as the playoffs, and that's something I'm gonna be watching throughout the year. One game was the Miami, Florida game. For playoffs, I don't want to root for Florida ever, um, and I'd kind of like to see Billy Napier keep his job for another season. But the Miami game, them beating Florida 41-17, that was probably bad for us because Miami.
See, I don't think it affects it at all.
You don't think so?
I don't think so because just from based on 1 week, they look like the hands-on favorite for that conference. So if they are, they're getting in regardless.
Well, I mean, that's true. That conference gets an automatic. Um, but I guess the question is,
You just don't need a second team.
you don't want a second team in the
Yeah.
SC between Clemson, which is,
Florida State, North Carolina State.
Yeah.
If
you don't want a media darling like Clemson, it's going to be hard to keep them out.
Mhm.
Miami would have been an easier team to keep out because they haven't done nothing in a
Mhm.
long time.
Florida
So-
State's going to get a little sympathy vote for last year.
Yeah. Now, if they lose another game, that'd probably be enough to kick them out because they look pretty badly against Georgia Tech. But, you know, the other big game I felt like that affected us was Notre Dame beating Texas A&M, mainly because Notre Dame hardly plays nobody from the rest of the year. They said they played USC, played Louisville, maybe Georgia Tech, which they should roll in that one.
If they're a top 10 or 15 team, like most people think, most people think they're higher than that. But if they're a top 10 or to 15 team, they got no business losing another game on their schedule. They could be undefeated or sitting there with one loss, and they're probably getting in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. So them winning that game hurt us because we really needed them to lose to fall back. If they finish in the top 12, uh, according to the rules, they are in. Um, so some other games of note: Oklahoma beat Temple, 51-3. Jackson Arnold looks like the real deal.
Well, he definitely did that first drive, Bob.
Yeah.
He looked like a superstar with a couple of his throws. But now as the game wore on, he looked more. He had some freshman moments. No surprise there.
Yeah, I thought he looked great. What I did think though after watching that game was that I wonder who their backup quarterback is because we're probably gonna see him at some point because Jackson Arnold may not make it through the year.
He was getting hit,
He was getting hit.
and this is Temple, one of the worst teams
Yeah.
in that our division.
Yeah. So they also lost wide receiver for the year and one hurt for a little while. So and they lost their starting center, Hickman.
Possibly high ankle sprain. If so, he may be back by our game, but he's not going to be very effective.
Yeah, high ankle sprains don't do well with linemen. It's a lot of pressure on that. But Georgia looked good.
It started off slow,
Charlotte
but then crushed Clemson.
34.
A team clearly on decline.
Yeah. Oh, they are. They are. We've talked about that many times in our podcast. Clemson is on the way down. And Ole Miss, again, competition bad, but
Well, they did what they wanted, what you want to do when you play a bad team. You crush them.
If anybody looked better than we did this weekend, it might have been Ole Miss. 76-0, beating Furman. Bama 163-0 to Western Kentucky. Probably one of the surprises of the week was Oregon just winning 24-14 against Idaho. They was about a 40-something point favorite, I believe, in that game, and just win by 10.
Yeah, not the start that they want.
No.
And then very well they may bounce back next week and look exactly like we expect Oregon to look. But rough first game in the as a member of the Big Ten, or Big 20 or Big 30. I don't know what that is now. Speaking of which, Michigan.
No, they didn't look too good either, man. They're playing Fresno. They won 30-10, but they scored a couple late.
Yeah, a couple of late touchdowns to make that game look a little bit better, but this isn't the Fresno from 15, 20 years ago.
No, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, that was bad. Hey, shout out, though, Bob. Vandy. For you 4 Vandy fans out there,
Yeah.
go watch around. You may pick up another one. They could be 5 after this weekend.
Right.
Maybe more. Some Virginia Tech fans may jump ship and swim over and be Commodores.
Maybe.
Overtime win, Bob. They almost blew it. But Vandy beats Virginia Tech 34-27.
And when they tied it up there in the fourth quarter, I thought, well, here comes Vandy. I mean, they do what Vandy does.
And that defeat from the Jaws.
Victory. Yeah. But I'll have to give them credit. They pulled it out. So good for them. Good for them. Good for the conference. Good for us. A couple of more games that was somewhat interesting. In Kentucky won 31-0 against Southern Miss. Kind of about what I expected. Somewhat, because I thought Kentucky's a pretty good team.
Yeah, and their opponent next week, South Carolina, dominated. No, they crushed. No. Oh.
They almost got beat by Old Dominion.
Old Dominion.
Yeah.
Ain't that a trucking company?
Right. Yeah. Well, some of the truckers and workers got together and put the team together right before the week and went out to play them. So.
Well, South Carolina, I went out there for the longest time and looked like a bunch of lot lizards, to be honest about it. Man, I worked with a good old boy from South Carolina, and like everyone else, he's excited about the year started, but that's not the way he wants it. And Tim, if you're listening to this, I'll be seeing you Tuesday.
He may be sick. He may call in sick.
Yeah,
If they lost, he would have.
yeah, because I mean they're losing in the fourth quarter against ODU, man. And once again, first week, overreactions.
Yeah.
But they better bounce back next week against Kentucky, or Beamer seat's going to be getting about as warm as mine was yesterday at the
Yeah.
ball
Right.
at Neyland.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess that's about it.
that about
Actually.
wraps it up, I guess,
Yeah, I
guys.
think so.
We'll try to see you again this week, heading into this big game.
Yeah.
But until then, go Big Orange, and let's kick some Wolfpack.
That's right. Let's go 2-0. Go Vols.